All right, today we're tackling a condition with a really intimidating name, median rhomboid glossitis. Sounds serious, right? Well, I promise, by the end of this, you're not only going to know exactly what it is, but you'll see it's actually a pretty fascinating little story, one that starts way back when we were first developing. So, let's get into it.
So, have you ever seen this? A kind of smooth, maybe reddish patch right there in the middle of someone's tongue. It definitely looks a bit different, doesn't it? Well, you've probably just seen median rhomboid glossitis, and that's exactly what we're going to demystify today.
Okay, here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start by decoding that crazy name. Then we'll get into its origin story, what it actually looks like, a really interesting little clue called the kissing lesion, and finally, what, if anything, you need to do about it.
All right, section 1. Let's tackle that name. Believe it or not, once you break it down, it's actually a perfect literal description of what's going on.
Okay, so here's the official super medical definition. Yeah, it's a total mouthful. You see words like erythromatis, that just means red, and atrophic papillae, that's just a fancy way of saying the tiny little bumps on your tongue are missing in that spot. But don't get bogged down in the jargon, because the name itself tells you everything you need to know.
And here it is. It's so simple, right? Median, it's in the middle. Rhomboid, it's kind of diamond-shaped. And glossitis, that's just the medical word for an inflamed tongue. Put it all together, and the scary name suddenly makes perfect sense. See? Told you it wasn't so bad.
So, okay, we've decoded the name. But why does it happen? What causes it? Well, the origin story is actually pretty cool, and it takes us all the way back to the very beginning, in the womb.
And this is maybe the most important thing to get. This is not a disease. You can't catch it, you can't spread it. It's just a little quirk of development, a tiny hiccup that happened when the tongue was first being formed.
So how does this happen? Well, think of it like this. When you were developing, your tongue actually formed from two separate halves that zipped up right down the middle. Sometimes that zipper just doesn't quite close all the way at the back. And in that little spot that's left, the normal tiny bumps on the tongue, the papillae, where your taste buds live, they just don't form. That's why the patch looks so smooth, almost bald, compared to the rest of the tongue.
Okay, so that's the why. Now for the who and the what. Who actually gets this, and what exactly are we looking for?
You know, it's pretty interesting. There's a definite pattern here. It's way more common in men than in women. We're talking about a 3-to-1 ratio. And while it can be there from childhood, people usually don't notice it or get it diagnosed until they're adults.
And these are the classic signs, the dead giveaways. Location? Bang in the middle toward the back of the tongue. Appearance? That smooth, red, diamond-shaped patch. Texture? Totally bald, no little bumps. And here's the big one. Symptoms? Almost always, none. Zero. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't burn, it doesn't do anything. It's just there.
Okay, now we get to my favorite part. There's this one super unique sign that can happen, a kind of mirror image.
And it has the best name. People call it the kissing lesion. And honestly, that name tells you exactly what's going on.
Think about where your tongue rests in your mouth, right up against the roof, the palate. So, if there's this inflamed red patch on the tongue and it's constantly touching the palate, well, sometimes a matching red patch shows up on the palate right where they meet. It's like the two surfaces are kissing and leaving a little mark. It's such a classic clue for doctors.
All right, so this leads to the big question, right? If you have this, what do you do? Should you be worried? Well, the answer is refreshingly simple.
Here's the bottom line. The condition itself is totally benign. It's harmless, so it requires absolutely no treatment. It doesn't mess with your speech or swallowing or taste. It's just a part of you.
Okay, but there is one little but here, and it's an important distinction to make. The condition itself? Benign, leave it alone. But because that patch is so smooth, it can be a cozy little spot for a common fungus called Candida to set up shop. It's like a bare patch of soil in a lawn where weeds can grow easier. Now, if that happens, a doctor might give you an antifungal cream or something to clear up that secondary infection. But you're treating the Candida, not the median rhomboid glossitis itself. That's a really key difference.
So we've gone from the womb to the doctor's office. What's the one big takeaway you should leave with?
If you remember just one thing, let it be this. Median rhomboid glossitis is not a disease. It's not something to worry about. It's a common, completely harmless little quirk left over from how you were made. It's a story, not a symptom.
And that's pretty cool when you think about it, right?
Our bodies are just full of these little leftover clues from our own personal origin story. So it makes you wonder, what other harmless little quirks do we all have that tell a story about the incredible journey of how we came to be? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this one.